All right, y'all, what is going on, man? Goofy Rexy here. Hope everybody is doing well. Wanted to make a video today and talk about the beginner experience in Marvel Strike Force. So I think that there's a few things that Scopely definitely should take a look at when it comes to the beginner experience and making sure that there's just a thing. There's a few things. I think like we're going to go through like a top 5 with some honorable mentions. We're going to go through a top 5 list today about things that Scopely could do to change the beginner experience or to improve the beginner experience here in Marvel Strike Force. And I think one of the main ones that stands out to me right now are level caps. So there's a lot of level caps that are currently in this game. And the biggest one that stands out to me is with our campaigns. So when you start playing this game here, you have your heroes, you have your villains campaigns to start targeting and to attack and to try to get through them. And it's really relatively easy for you to get through heroes chapter all the way up to chapter 6 and villains all the way up to chapter 6. But the problem is you could probably do that within the first 30 to, well, I'll say 40 to about 90 days or so. And you're literally sitting here just waiting to be able to do chapter 7 of villains and also heroes, which I don't think is necessarily important to do or necessary right now where the game is. With these new legendaries that are in Marvel Strike Force now, we know at Jubilee, we have Adam Warlock, those characters, the game is sort of expanded, the content is expanding, and now sort of for a player, you're kind of left in limbo really for about 6 months waiting to do content because it's capped out at level 70 before you can do heroes and your villains campaign. So I think that one of the things that they definitely should change are these level caps. There's a lot of different level caps that are in the game right now. There's some of your challenges that are level capped. There are also save squads right now that are level capped as well. So, and that one to me doesn't really necessarily fully make any sense. I don't know why there's really any need to have any sort of save squads. Why are you level capping that? I've never really fully understand that, but I think the biggest one for me really are these campaigns, because if you want to get Black Bolt, legendary Black Bolt in Marvel Strike Force, you have to get to that Hella node, and you cannot get to the Hella node or even attempt to get to that Hella node until you get to level 70, because you have to, because she's in Villains chapter 7-6, and you can't attempt that until you get to level 70. So I think that would be one of the things that I would definitely change in this game, is changing the level caps on some of the content that is here in Marvel Strike Force. I also thought about some other things as well that I think would be really helpful for players. So they've done actually a relatively good job in changing some of the legendaries and throwing them now into, some of them are permanent, right? So Shuri's a permanent legendary, Nick Fury's a permanent legendary, so is Iron Man. But Iron Man, Nick Fury, although he does have value now, I mean, these aren't necessarily crazy impactful legendary characters. Shuri still definitely has a lot of value. Players are currently using her in Doom raids right now for their tech lane, so there's definitely a lot of value still with Shuri. Obviously, Shuri is needed for Chaos Theory if you want to do your higher tiers, your tier 5, your tier 6, and of course your tier 7 content. You do need Shuri for that. And they have done some changes to make some of these legendary characters, like what they call them, legacy legendary characters, right? Where they're coming on a quicker rotation, about 6 to 7 weeks, a little bit quicker than some of your other legendaries like your Jubilee, your Doc Ock, which seems to roll around every 2.5 to about 3 months or so. In some instances, really kind of 4 months, as we've seen here with Jubilee. I would like to see them just go ahead and make some of even the legacy legendaries, which are Star-Lord, Invisible Woman. I would like this, Magneto. I would like to just see them go in the direction where they are just making these characters completely permanent. Make these legendary characters completely permanent. And I would say even make the legendary unlocks easier, dropping it down to like how you have it right now with Nick Fury and Iron Man, dropping it down to about 3 stars of an unlock so that players can get these legendaries earlier and that they can have some better impact on their roster, right? So there's 6 characters are relatively available relatively early. So being able to unlock Invisible Woman, start to use her in your arena shard earlier, I think would really be a kind of a happy feeling and some way to sort of bridge the gap a little bit, I think, for players not being able to get some of those late game legendaries, in my opinion. And even Phoenix right now, Phoenix has been a 6-star unlock for a long time. I think that there's a possibility that now it may make sense to actually drop down the requirement to 5 stars of an unlock. Maybe that's kind of too crazy, but Phoenix, although she's still a great character, I don't necessarily know that you need to still have her as a 6-star unlock. In my opinion, I just don't think that that's necessary anymore. The next thing that I wanted to talk about here were ability materials. I've had numerous earlier players talk to me about how ability materials are a massive grind in this game. Primarily not even the T3s, and really not even the T4s. The T4s become a problem a little bit later on as you get into the game, but things like T2 ability mats, right? Really, before you get to level 60, ability mats are extremely difficult to get. And if you are ever an earlier player that gets into an alliance that is doing content like U7, you're going to be kind of crunched and short on getting those T2 ability materials. I've had players who say, hey, I have a massive ton of T3s, but not enough T2. So I think one of the ways that they could make T2s more available for some of those later raids, just adding more T2 currency to it. I think the legacy orbs do serve us a little bit of it does help a little bit with some of the alleviating some of that bottleneck with some of the legacy orbs, but the legacy orbs aren't as available or as prevalent. You're not getting a lot of those orbs. So I think another way to kind of make it just an easier process for earlier players is to also give T2 abilities materials just more frequently in other areas of the game, so that that's not a bottleneck. It feels bad when you have T3s that you can equip on characters, but you can't even use the T3s because you don't have enough T2s to put on characters. So I would like to see them do some of that, where they're increasing some of the T2s that are available for some of these earlier players to make it easier for them to go through the content. Another thing I thought about too as well is kind of tying into, well, not fully tying in, but still kind of along the same lines here, is having orange gear more available. And this kind of goes back to the level cap, right? You're not able to start purchasing or getting orange gear until you get to like level 65, I think, in your gameplay. So level 65 is when you can start grabbing and purchasing the orange gear from the supply store, and then also from the war store, with the need for gear tier 13 material, more so the hero uniques, the superior uniques that you need for those characters, your astral energy, your shield tech for Kestrel, like those type of orange gear. I would like to see them make that a little bit available a little bit earlier for players, in my opinion. I think level 65 may be too long. Maybe changing that to level 60, I would think, would be a nice sort of gesture for the earlier player base. I don't think it would even be that crazy impactful to just make that adjustment, in my opinion, if they just decided to make orange gear available a little bit earlier for players, so that they can start grabbing those pieces, especially if you have players who are studying the game and who know what they need and know what hero uniques that they need. I think that would be a good direction for them to go in. We also talked about blitz shards. So right now we have this event that is live, right? We have the Moon Dragon event, and there is a character that's there, Daredevil, that could be helpful for other players. We saw Mystique in an earlier blitz on last week or previously before this, and your earlier players are not able to compete as well because they're now blitzing and competing with characters. Because of this event, they're competing with players, not characters. They're competing with players who have been playing this game for a long time. So I think that they definitely should think and consider making blitz shards. Now, I know some players are saying, well, blitz shards probably wouldn't really help. It kind of makes it worse for some other players. But mostly, if you're a competitive player in this game, which you probably are if you're watching YouTube and you're watching Twitch, right? You are definitely more of a competitive player. I think one way to make it easier, to make the beginner experience better for players, is not to have them once you get to level 60, that is when you get blitz sim, and it is also when you start blitzing against the top tier players in this game. I don't think it's really fair for them to be thrown into the pack of wolves like that. So I would think that one of the suggestions would be to throw in blitz shards similar to your arena shard, that you're competing with players who are playing around the same time as you gives you a better option and a better chance of being able to get shards on characters. I think also maybe even for new character blitzes that obviously earlier players will not be able to get to, they're not going to be able to compete. Then maybe also making older characters, like placing some of those older, like run those older characters simultaneously as well, so that players can, maybe blitz, okay, sure, we have Misty Knight and we have Colleen Wing going on right now as a blitz. Not right now, but I'm giving an example. You have Colleen Wing and you have Misty Knight. The Misty Knight is going on as an active blitz right now. Then maybe throwing in a character that you could use for legendary, like Hela, having a blitz for her so that earlier players could go after blitzing for Hela, so that they're not competing to try to get shards for Misty Knight. Just a thought. It could get a little sketchy. I'm not gonna lie to you, but just a little bit of a thought that might potentially help. And then also this was a recommendation in the chat as well. Maybe also adding a gold blitz or a training map blitz, which could definitely still be problematic if earlier players are going up against other players who are later game players who have larger rosters. But once again, if you implement the blitz shards, then it also makes it a little bit easier for players to compete as well. This is pretty much basically some of the content. I think also some honorable mentions here. Legacy characters, so characters that, yes, you have a new legacy orb or rework legacy orb, which I am sure will definitely help out the player base. But I would like to see as well, just to be able to help out some players, is making the drop rates higher for some of those legacy characters. There's a lot of old characters in the game. Mystique, there's Daredevil is one. Well, Daredevil's in the arena, but all the characters that are in these campaigns, having them have higher drop rates, once again, to also help them to potentially land some of those older legendary characters that are in the game right now as well. There's some other things that were mentioned too. Arena rewards. I think now that you've increased the arena itself, where you now need to, there are characters that are valuable in the arena orb, giving players an option, I think, to be able to increase the arena orbs. I think the arena rewards, I think cores should be increased by at least 75 cores. It's not anything crazy, but you have to get all the way down to ranking of 50 in order to be able to get the 200 cores that you're using every single day, your campaign energy refreshes, just to be able to do your regular campaign energy refreshes and just to be able to recuperate and get those back. You have to get to a rank of number 50, which is quite difficult to get to for a earlier player, especially somebody that is maybe a light spender or even a dolphin. I think it's pretty hard to compete in those top 100s and top 50 arena ranks. So I would like to see them increase the amount of cores that you're getting, also the amount of arena credits, so that you can realistically farm characters, or maybe have an option really of opening up those orbs in the arena store. There was also mentioned too as well a timeline, given a timeline for characters that are not farmable in the game. Obviously, you're going to probably be a little bit more stringent on characters that you're going to need for legendary unlocks, but characters like AV, it shouldn't really not be going a year before we hear about where they're going to be farmable, or 8 months before we hear about when they're going to be farmable. That I think would be an honorable mention. That I think overall will help all players in game, but I definitely think for beginners it would also help as well. Emma has been in this game for almost a year now. We're literally going on a year. I think she was released last August 2020. We are now in June 2021, and we have no idea where Emma is going. And there's a lot of beginner players who were not here for the milestones that have missed out on opportunities to get Emma. All we have is offers. That's it. And I don't feel that that's necessarily a good experience. Emma's a good character. She's still very viable in the game, and I understand that there's some reasoning to kind of keep her a little bit, I guess, harder to get. But with other characters now kind of power leaping and the power creep and all that stuff, I think that Emma should definitely have some sort of, we should know where Emma is right now. There should be some place for us to get her, and there really is no way for us to get Emma right now. Nobody knows, and beginner players who are just starting to play this game or have been playing this game for the past 5 months, because the last Emma milestone was in January. They literally have had no way of being able to get Emma shards unless they are willing to drop money on the game. There's a few other things mentioned, maybe a 24-hour Red Star trait opening. there's some of these older characters. I think this one could be a little bit more problematic. A 24-hour period where you can open up red stars for a specific trait could definitely still be a little tricky. I think you're probably still better off holding it for new characters, but I definitely could see how maybe giving the player an option that for 24 hours, if they want to open up red stars for Protector or want to open up red stars for, or even going further than that, maybe opening up red stars for characters that have the Mystic tag or have the whatever tag, right? Or trait, I should say, Mystic trait, or these other traits, the tech trait, being able to have open up red stars for a 24-hour period, I think would be something that would be helpful. Gold is also another big one in the game too, where you need more gold now than you've ever needed before. I made a mention in another video about this before. Increasing the gold in the challenges. There's really not a lot of gold in those gold rush challenges anymore. I think increasing the amount of gold that you're getting there, increasing, at least doubling the amount of gold that you're getting from campaign farms, and also the blitz orbs. The blitz orbs, there's really not a lot of gold that you're getting from these blitz orbs. I would like to see them increase the amount of gold that you're getting from those blitz orbs as well. And I think that's it. There's probably a lot that I'm missing, man. Let me know, guys, what your thoughts are. What other mechanics, if you're a beginner player, what other things would you like to see added to this game that would increase or better your experience as a player in this game? I definitely think the biggest one for me is the level 70 cap. Not being able to do Villains Chapter 7 before you get to level 70, I think is a really big one, especially because you have to wait so long to be able to get it done. And I think it would help out players to be able to get Black Bolt, Ebony Maw a little bit earlier, especially now that there are these new legendaries that are kind of outclassing them a little bit, like Jubilee and also Adam Warlock, right? Well, so let me know, guys. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Thank you guys so much. Y'all be blessed. Y'all be safe.